Y'all doing?
Good.
Good.
You all right?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Y'all look great. Look at them. You know, I'm excited to talk to you. I love talking to people who are gifted. I struggle with people who are not. I have great conversations with people who are gifted because I just connect with people who have the ability to summon something else. And I think acting is the ability to summon, it's almost like conjuring. You guys can conjure, which is in that deep African sense of the term. And so it's an honor to be around all of you. And tonight, I'm going to be an honorary actor.
Okay.
Amen.
Sounds good.
So having said that, let me ask you a question. Because what I want the audience to get out of this is an understanding of the journey, not just the joys or the prize, but the journey. And so I want to ask each of you in your own way, how did you know that this is what you had to do? Because you could be doing, I know a couple of you were athletes in college before you did this. How did you know that this is the thing I have to do? Anybody?
Let one of the ladies go first.
I'll go.
Go. Tell us.
So I had no idea what I wanted to do in life. I felt like I was lost. I felt like I wasn't doing anything with my life. And I was in London and I was working with an extras agency. So I was going on different shows and I was doing audience work. And I booked an extras role on Mission Impossible. And I remember getting on set, I was playing a stewardess, and I saw Alec Baldwin start his line, and it changed my life. And I thought, that is what I want to do, and that's how I want to do it. And that was my moment. Even though I watch TV every day, I watch movies, but just to be on set and see it in real life was when it happened for me. And then I jumped on a plane to LA with a one-way ticket.
Wow. Are you serious?
Yeah, I'd never been to LA before. I knew one girl here in LA. I shared a bed for 9 months with that girl. It was my friend, one of my friends, because I had no money. And that's how it happened.
You know what strikes me about that is that there are so many people who are watching who are crippled by fear.
Yeah.
And they are crippled by the fact that they won't take a step until they can see the staircase.
Yeah.
They won't do it. And what you just joyously, you know.
That's a Regis digest version.
Yeah, no, I
get drama
we're definitely going to talk about the highs and lows. But still, you know, Nathaniel, it's interesting because I find that when I talk to actors particularly, that you have to have that. Can you speak to that at all? How did you come to the moment where you knew?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a little bit more of a process for me. I mean, I'm first generation Ghanaian American. So if you ask my mom, I was supposed to be a pediatrician. But it was, you know, I think there was always a desire to want to tell stories and to want to impact, you know, through storytelling. And the movie, there was actually a specific movie that did it for me. And it was watching Nate Parker in The Great Debaters. Yes. And Nate actually
Come on, shout out for The Great Debater. That was a great movie.
Yeah. And it was so underrated, but you know, my brother, unfortunately, he passed away. We watched that movie together and he said, I can see you doing that. That specifically. And so I was like, you know what? I can see it too.
But that's beautiful because in the monologue at the beginning of the show, I spent time saying exactly that. We all have to have people in our lives who do what your brother did. Because sometimes we can't see what's supposed to happen. And there's got to be somebody who loves us enough to say, I see this in you, I know you can do this, and they push us. You know what I'm saying? So Joy, it seems like that's striking you.
Yeah.
How so?
Well, for me, I grew up always wanting to entertain my family. Like, so the barbecues, the, you know, church, all of that. But I went to school originally to play basketball. I wanted to be, at the time when I...
Like Morrow here.
Yes.
Like Rich,
playing basketball. Yay! I wanted to be one of the first females in the NBA because when I started, there wasn't a WNBA. And then when I got to college, I lost the love for competing for, like, it was a job, the 5 a.m. workouts and everything. And my minor was a theater, and I had a teacher, a professor that did just that, who saw something in me. So shout out to Professor Dewey Scott Wiley, forever grateful, who, had encouraged me to audition for my first play. And I did, and she pushed me, and I haven't turned back since.
I know that's right. I know that's right. They should be applauding because because I think what you're offering, Rich. I think what all of you are offering is you're offering a window into the moment it happens.
Oh
Yeah.
So that's what this is, a window into the moment. It's the window into. See, sometimes the only way you get clarity is through misery. Right? You got to suffer all the way to being clear. But sometimes you get it the way you get it. Something whispers to you in the wee hour of the night. A brother says something. A teacher says something, right? An actor says something on a set and it strikes you. How did you get into this?
Man, I'm sitting here listening to everybody and I'm like, it's hard for me to pick one moment, but I feel like it chose me. And I'm a big person on faith, and I felt as if my purpose in life is to relate. I love people. I always have loved people all my life. Coming from an athletic background, I was a Division I basketball player. My first dream was to be Michael Jordan, and
mine too. It didn't work out for me at all.
Well, it ain't work out for me either, but we ended up where we were supposed to.
Facts.
You get what I'm saying?
Facts.
And it's crazy all of the doors that it opened up for me, but also the lessons that it taught me to get me through all of the misery and the pain and things that I weren't expecting. And I think going through sports and, having my fair share of success in that kind of gave me a taste of what the influence and the leadership and everything that comes along with it is about. But what really got me was, man, when I was in college, not a lot of people know this, people close to me know it, but I used to make Vines, and when that first application had came out and people were making videos and making funny videos, I was playing basketball. I'm worried about grades, traveling, and school,
Yeah.
And man, that application came out. One of my teammates was really popular. A bunch of kids in my school were popular. Social media wasn't even a thing, so we didn't know what was coming. I started making funny videos. I get over 100,000 followers. Some of your friends are laughing. Some of them are like, what are you doing? And it was kind of a moment where I got to really see, one, how much influence I could have. Two, how much I really enjoyed just letting go, doing something that I, wasn't identifiable with until you saw it. But also just having that understanding of like, wow, what a blessing to be able to influence so many people by just being myself. And that's one thing all of my life I've wanted to find.
Yeah, that's good.
That's
good. Yeah, that's great.
What a blessing.
And
I went to a workshop down in Miami where I also got on my first project. Much like you, I started out doing whatever I could as an extra, whatever, just to be on set. I just needed to see it. Because once I see it, I believe it and I know I can do it. Somebody else can do it, I know I can do it.
You know what's interesting about that, and I appreciate that, because I think, again, this may sound strange, but I'm strange. I think actors, singers, athletes, comedians, and wait for it, preachers have a lot in common.
For sure.
And I think the thing that they have in common is to do those professions, you have to have an inherent sense of courage. If you are afraid of the stage or the pulpit or the arena or the floor, you're never going to be successful. And there's so many people who are watching this program who don't know what it feels like to conquer fear. Because I know you guys have gone for roles. Jessica, you've gone for roles. And I know you've been afraid and you had to have felt something. And yet you still did it. Walk us through how you overcame it.
I think for me, it's taking risks. If you don't conquer your fear, if you don't take risks, you're never going to get anywhere. And for me, people, I tell my story of how I got here, and they're like, how can you just move country? How did you just get out? And I'm like, well, if I got here and it didn't work out, guess what? I would have just gone home. I would have cried for 2 days. My mom would have cuddled me, and it would have been over, But at least I would have tried. So I feel like you should always have that in the back of your mind. Like, it's worth it just to jump, to take the risk, because what's the worst that can happen?
No, it's rich, Joy. It's rich because I think that part of the risk taking that Jessica invites us into is having a relationship with the goal. I think sometimes your desire to want something has to be greater than your fear of trying to get it. And so let me ask you this. Is this a good time to be black in Hollywood?
I think it's the best time.
Yes.
It's a good time?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Tell us why.
I have a couple points on it. For me personally, from someone who's just been introduced to it within the last, half decade, I've seen them trying to make an effort, one, because of all the noise that we've been making and how much we have not been included in a lot of the things going on, but also the stories that need to be told. I think they're starting to see, one, people like real stories. You can only make up so much. And we got so many stories that have shaped us into the great, culture that we are that influences most of the world.
Good.
That it's almost impossible to ignore. And as a young, African American or just, black actor in Hollywood at this point, you are knocking on the door every day. And they know. And I just think that, because there's a lot of quote unquote competition, which I don't like to look at it as, there's a lot of us that are meant to be here and are meant to tell these stories. And all we need is the opportunity. So, when preparation meets opportunity, that's when they say success happens. I think we're about to see a lot of new successful young black individuals. Because
that's something to clap about. Go ahead, Joy.
Well, I think, and also now is a good time because there's so many. You don't have an excuse. Like because of social media, the technology, if you want to tell your story, you have so many platforms to tell your story. And if you are being truthful and authentic, like people will come. So now, like you said, you started out with videos, didn't know, and your influence. You can go and do an entire movie from your iPhone. Like, so if you want work, you want to tell a story, and you're like, well, they're not gonna. Well, then I'm gonna create it. So it's a good time to be alive, to be black.
What I hear you saying is that when you don't have resources, you have to be resourceful. You have to be resourceful, and we're living at a time when the resources they're egalitarian. You have it in your hand. But Daniel, let me ask you a slightly different question, if I may. Because I want to know when you're doing a part or you're playing a role, how do you know when you've nailed it?
I mean, I'm sure everybody has a different answer to this question. I don't know that I'm ever like, I nailed it. Maybe I have like slight moments where I'm like, oh, that felt good, like that I felt connected. But I think in terms of like nailing it, because the thing is like when it comes to art and storytelling, there's never just one way, It's so multifaceted.
No, it's an interesting answer, and I think that what you've just given the audience is permission not to be perfect, right? And not to feel as if everything that you do is a home run.
Right.
Which to me is part of the reason why people never get started. It's the pressure of not being perfect. But I'm gonna change gears just a little bit because I want to just explore a more behind the scenes question, and that is, how do your families? Because you mentioned this earlier, that you're in a Ghanaian family, you're supposed to be what?
Yeah, pediatrician.
So how has your families responded and reacted to the fact that you have an actor's life and it's not a 9-to-5 kind of job situation? Joy, go ahead.
I would say I am super blessed to have this amazing mother who retired Sergeant Major.
Say her name.
Joyce McElveen. Yes, Joyce.
Shout out to Joyce.
You're not gonna clap for Joyce? I love mamas now.
Yes, who was a single parent, but I mean, she was always there. She and always instilled in me, yes, you can do it. Look what I've done. And so at first, it was, my father wasn't around, so it was basketball games. And I would look out in the audience, and nobody else mama show up, but my mama would be there yelling for everybody's child. So she was the team mom. When I went to college, and I remember calling her and saying, I don't think I want to play ball anymore. And she stopped, and she said, okay, this is because I had been playing since I was 6. And I was like, but I want to go to the stage. And she said, All right, well, we're going to pack up and I'll come to and sit in every play, and that's what she's done.
beautiful.
So I am grateful to have
That's what love does. That's what love does. Joy?
You saying my mama don't love me?
No.
I didn't have that.
I know, it's like it's unique.
But it's interesting dichotomy because to one degree, love liberates you,
Yes.
right? Love sets you free. To another degree, love has a vision for you. It has a vision for you. It says before you got here, I sat with you in my belly and I thought about what you would be.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad at you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I conceived of your possibilities before you had fingers and toes.
I believe that.